want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you. Hey, we are live.
Hey, I am Kirk M. Samuels.
And I am Jason B. Kendrick.
And together we are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
For you.
Right here on your home for healthy masculinity. And on KLDC, 1220 AM in Mile High City. You know where you're at. You tuned in. You know what's up.
Mile High City. We
That's
are
right.
52, what is it, 5280?
5280. 5,280 feet.
Above sea level. You know what I'm saying? If you come up here, man, you better drink some water. You better have an oxygen tank. You better something, man. You better come ready when you come up here to the Mile High City.
That's for sure.
That's how we roll. And on the interwebs everywhere, madmenradio.com.
That's right. If you're watching us live, remember you can comment, especially if you're on YouTube or on the Mad Men of Masculinity Facebook page. You can comment. It'll show up live. We can put you on the show and make you famous.
You can make you famous.
Make you famous.
For real. Everybody in the world will know who you are.
Make you famous like Billy the Kid. Pew, pew, pew.
And this is one of them ones, man. It'd be cool to have some input, man. It'd be cool to have some input on this thing, man.
Yeah, this is one of those ones, we always talk about. We either talk 2 men or 4 men. And this one's 2 men, but there's going to be some 4 men in it because some of you ladies need to understand what a little bit of self-control means for men.
Yeah. And this is, this topic, I heard somewhere, several places actually, that men should have some level of self-control. And I think as I look back over my life, I can see that all of my big mistakes in life came through avenues and through instances and times in my life where I had no self-control.
I don't know anything about that.
Yeah,
I've been in so much control my whole life.
Liar.
What?
Yeah.
Why you gonna call me out?
Whatever.
No, I mean that it is a great point. I think it's something that as we get older, especially get into our middle years like we are, it becomes a must-have. We must have self-control. And I know for somebody like me, highly sensitive person, empathic, the feels can run your life, and being willing to feel that. And it's tough as a guy. I mean, it is. We talk so much about, okay, we have feelings as men, but we don't have emotional education. And we live in a society that says, oh, don't feel, stuff it down. And then if you do feel, make sure you don't bring that around here. And, we get disrespected because, hey, guess what? I'm a guy, I'm a human being. And sometimes I have the feels and sometimes I can't control the feels and I need to do something with them. But instead of having a healthy outlet, and most of us don't, because there's not a lot of outlets out there. There's not a lot of services. There's not a lot of tools for most men, unless you do the work, unless you get a men's group, something like that. So then you just stuff it. Then you medicate. And that's where a lot of that self-control really needs to come in, is how do you deal with your emotions? Because you're going to have them. How do you deal with the rough times? Because you're going to have them. How do you deal with life when it doesn't go the way you want? And how does that affect your self-esteem, your self-control? I mean, your self-worth? All these things are tied together.
I hope I remember this because I really want to come back to the whole idea of having outlets. But up front, I don't want to skip over this. I think, for whatever that's worth, I think that it is okay and good for men to have feelings. I mean, especially if you're a feeling, person. Like I'm an ENFP, Myers-Briggs. The F is a feeler, right? I'm a high feeler at that. So I have a tendency to sometimes even overfeel. Sometimes, and I'll catch myself in a moment just really getting wrapped up in how I feel about something. I don't think it's a bad thing for a man to have feelings or even to be a feeler. What I do think we need to be aware of is acting out of our feelings. I think acting out of or through or within whatever, when feelings lead us and guide us, is when we're destined to get in trouble. Because that's when you do damaging things. That's when you hurt other people, hurt yourself. That's when you just do stupid stuff, man. You just throw all the life away over something stupid because it was going to make you feel good in a moment.
Yeah. Well, and that gets right into what we really need to get into is the reaction versus responding. Yeah. And self-control really comes from being able to take that break to respond. Yeah. If you're just reacting out of emotions, if you're just reacting out of anger, and most of the time when we are reacting, is coming from some unconscious drive, some unconscious trauma or something in our past that we haven't dealt with and we're not willing to feel. And so and that's, when you get in relationships, especially when you have a smart woman, she's going to know your buttons. She's going to find out what it triggers you and keep that, little ace in the hole sometimes, so that when she's mad at you, she can push that button knowing that you're going to freak out because you haven't maybe taken the time to work on that. You still have that hot button. And so being able to stop, take a breath, count to 10 and respond logically and linearly, or even just be able to like, whoop, you hit my button. I'm getting emotional. I'm getting angry. I need to take a break and come back, because responsibility is the ability to respond. And if you're, we know most of us guys, when we're younger, especially when the hormones are kicking in puberty, we were very reactionary. Everything was a reaction. It happened so fast you couldn't even stop it. But as we get older, we've got to learn as men how to respond, how to stop reacting to situations and respond to situations in healthy ways.
If you have a woman in your life, she's probably gonna do a few things. No, she definitely is. And it's the tempt, tease, trap, and test, right? I mean, that's the the part of what that femininity brings into your life. Part of that test is, and some of it is even subconscious or unconscious to women, that they will test the man that they're with, or test him in several different ways. And in that, some of that is just them finding boundaries and finding safety. And, are you able to protect me? Are you able to whatever? It's the testing of that thing. And I think part of that testing, to your point, is pushing those buttons sometimes, is, seeing how far can I push you in this way? How far can I push you in that way? Maybe even sometimes what can I get you to do what, I can't. And some of that is good, some of that is bad. I don't mind, being righteously manipulated by my wife. When she, tries to convince me in various ways to go in the direction that she would like me to go, or make a decision that she would like me to make. But at the same time, again, we as men, we got to be willing to recognize in that moment where I can just snap, where I can just roar like the lion with the big mane, and I can do that in the home. I got to recognize that, okay, maybe this is time to dial it back and just maintain my cool, calm, collective, composure for the sake of this relationship. Because quite often, that feminine is not bringing calm, collective, peace and normalcy to the moment. Sometimes it's chaos.
Yeah, I want to quote my man Bill Burr, because he concisely explains, especially when you're in a relationship, when you're with your girl and you're having an argument. If she knows she's right, she's going to keep it on point and keep you on point and discuss the issue. Now, when she may not be right, or she may not have a good argument and you are putting down good points, usually that's when she goes rogue and starts hitting those buttons, hitting those hot buttons. And so that's when you got to know, okay, as a man, all right, I'm winning. That's why she's gone rogue and she's hitting on my emotional buttons. So don't take it personally. Take a knee, run out the clock, and just go, okay, I got you, honey. I know that was I'll put a W in my book, even though it probably doesn't feel like that. But something to keep in mind, guys, because especially in those close personal relationships, I mean, we're people. We're going to get on each other's nerves, and it just happens. I mean, long road trips, holidays, you with somebody long enough, you're gonna get on each other's nerves. And that's why, gentlemen, once again, make sure you have a men's group, make sure you have guys, make sure you have time to go and recoup with your guys, recharge with your guys, because they will help you with that self-control. They'll help you to realize you're not alone. They're dealing with the same things. They got the same emotional women at home. And hopefully, as a masculine man, you realize you want a feminine woman, which means she comes with emotion. She comes with that flow, with that flexibility, that the tides and the flag and the breeze, whatever analogy you want to use, that comes with femininity. So being able to have self-control so that you're the rock, you're the foundation, you're the solid one that doesn't get blown off course because of her emotional breezes and her emotional storms. That's what they need us for. And one of the things that we need is to have that self-control so that we can be that for them. But it takes a lot of work sometimes, especially coming from most guys in our teen years and young men. we don't have that self-control. We are very reactionary. Some of that's testosterone. Some of that's just puberty. It's just wired in there. And as we get older, that testosterone drops a little bit, gives us a little more, it's like it gives you a little break. You're like, okay, I'm getting angry, but I have a moment I can stop and take a breath and count to 10 and go, okay, how would a grown adult handle this situation? I mean, and we know, out driving on these roads, sometimes even grown men forget and they act like kids.
Dude, I'm coming back to that home. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes,
there.
sir.
But when you have a feminine woman, and we're all about femininity, we're all about having feminine women. That's healthy femininity in our life. The whole modern feminist move, we're anti that. I mean, we're pro the balance in the two. So when you have a feminine woman in your life, that your self-control provides a level of safety for her. And that safety is like, okay, I know that my plant can bloom in this container. It's like having a vase, and you're the vase for her flower to not only plant but grow and get the nurturing and the water and all that kind of stuff. Because even though it's contained, it's safe in that, and that's an environment for the roots to do their thing and all those kinds of things, and not have weeds. I mean, when flowers and plants are in vases, you don't have to worry about, digging up weeds like you do in the garden outside. And so that's a level of safety for her. And so your self-control is important. And this is something that we need to master as men, not only in our home, but outside of our home as well. So since you brought up homeboy, I brought this up in the past couple of weeks, just turning the corner, this dude pulls in behind me, guessing wrong at what lane I was going to turn into. And for some reason, he just lost it. He just lost his lid, man. And he just went ape nuts, man. And all of a sudden, he pulls up next to me, and through both of our windows being rolled up, I can tell homeboy was cussing me out left and right. I mean, he was pointing, he was doing all, whatever. And I looked at this dude, man. I mean, I was not impressed and definitely not afraid. And then I look ahead of us, and 50, 100 feet in front of us was a red light. And so I'm like, oh, this is going to be fun right here, man. So I pull up to the red light. I got from behind him. I pull up intentionally on the side of him at the red light. And I didn't even roll down my window. I just turned and just stared at the dude, man. And all of a sudden, he's jumping at me like, you want to fight? You want to fight? I'm like, man, what am I do? Get out I'm 50 years old, man. What am I do? Get out the car and fight you? Yeah, especially in a state like Colorado, man, where half the people are packing. Man, you don't know what kind of stuff you can get into, man. And so, these are examples where there are boys wrapped up in men's bodies all around us. And that's why the world is not safe. All of these mass killings and mass shootings and all that kind of stuff are lone men. They're lone males acting out of some aggression or anger, or acting out of some kind of feeling. But when we are able to master our feelings, man, we are able to provide a safe space inside of our home, outside of our home, and to the world around us. And speaking of mastering,
I got one question before we take this break. Were you texting before you made the
turn? I was not, man. I was not. Matter of fact, I was around the corner from my crib, man. I wasn't texting. I wasn't doing nothing.
Just checking.
Nah, I wasn't, man.
All right, let's take this break.
Let's take a break. Mad Men of Masculinity, KLDC. We'll be right back. That'd been funny if I was texting.
I know. I've been behind you and been texting before. And I've been like,
if I was
like he's drunk.
If I was texting, I was probably texting you, but I wasn't.
Oh, I see how it is. Blame it on me.
Blame it on you.
Blame it on me.
But normally, in that case, no, I wasn't. I remember the exact moment. I was literally just making a right on Cottonwood, man, over Jordan, and man, I was like, you got to be kidding me, homeboy. It wasn't even a busy intersection. So anyhow, whatever.
Interesting.
Yeah, squirrel.
All right, next one we'll do Barry's thing. Remind me.
All right. And we're back. Yeah.
Mad Men of Masculinity, KLDC, interwebs everywhere. Your boys are in the house.
Yeah, we're in a Mile High City, the home of the NBA champion Denver Nuggets, who are also kicking butt still in the NBA right now, man.
Very nice.
Thing,
At least we got one.
It'd be cool if they'd be back to back. Yeah, I know. Denver's a good sports town, man. We got a lot of good sports, except for baseball. We
got baseball.
We got baseball. That's true. A lot of cities don't, but we have a team that plays in Denver. I guess you can say baseball.
Yeah, we're one of the few cities in America that's got all four.
Yeah,
there's five. We even got lacrosse. We got soccer.
We got everything.
Yeah, we got everything.
Denver's got it going on, man. Anyway,
if you like sports, move up here, but the
Yeah.
rent's getting expensive, so maybe
man,
don't.
Shoot,
As a matter of fact, we're full. Don't move up here.
Yeah, for real. For real.
Talk about self-control. Control yourself from moving to Denver.
Yeah, but in order to have a safe culture, I mean, we believe that men are like the tide, and when the tide comes in, all boats rise. And one of the ways that communities are safer, families are safer, workplaces are safer, is when healthy men have healthy self-control, and that's one of the ways healthy men manifest in our culture, where we don't flip off the deep end, we don't get angry in our home and abuse everybody and all those kinds of things, and we just don't do those kinds of things. We don't we don't just exercise random acts of violence and all of these kinds of things, man. I mean, if you think about it, man, self-control in not only in your relationships, self-control in your finances, self-control in your sexuality, self-control in just, man, your career, your physical fitness. I mean, all of that is measures of self-control. And so a lot of times you can look at a guy and you can see how much or how little self-control he has just visually.
Yeah, I mean, and it's one of the things why we want to do this episode and promote so much, why you need a group of guys, why you need a men's group, because being around other men will help you with your self-control, because men will challenge each other to build self-control, to build that strength. But also, if you're struggling, I mean, like Kirk was saying, now I'm an INFJ, so I got that feelings as well. But having outlets, whether it's working out, whether it's a men's group, whether it's martial arts, or I would suggest all of the above, having multiple outlets, whether you get out in nature, you do something where you feel confident about yourself and your body, you feel like you can protect yourself and control a situation, that will help you with your self-control. Because most of these men, and we mentioned it on the last episode, most of these men who, like, talking about your dude in that driving incident, that road rage incident, fearful people, weak men tend to react more. It's that Napoleon syndrome where they don't feel strong, they don't feel in self-control, they don't feel self-worth, so they're reacting out of fear. And usually the most fearful ones, the weakest ones, are the loudest. And so when you have a sense of self-control, a sense of self-worth, when you know you can protect yourself, when you know that you're physically fit, you're doing the right things, you're not using all these unhealthy devices or vices to soothe yourself, to soothe your feelings or to soothe whatever, because there's so many other outlets. And then I'm speaking from experience. I go back and forth. There are some days I'm like, I'm not feeling good, I'm going to the gym. There are other days like, I'm not feeling good, I'm not with it, I'm going to go sit on the patio and drink a bunch and soothe that way. So sometimes it's a matter of trying to choose the best vice, but also it's a matter of being willing to experience your feelings. And I think for a lot of guys nowadays, it's really difficult to even, number one, acknowledge, oh, I have feelings and I'm struggling with something, and number two, to even be willing to deal with that. And that's why having therapy, having a counselor, having a coach, having somebody you can talk to, having a men's group, having your boys, somebody that you can actually talk to let some of that steam off, to let some of that pressure out, because there are reasons why men are 4 times more likely to self-cancel and take themselves out, because they're not utilizing more healthy ways of coping, of dealing, of venting, of getting help, or even just talking about these things. And for most guys, if we would just get with another dude and just talk about, I don't even know what I'm feeling right now, I'm angry, I'm depressed, and just start to vent that a little bit and get that out a little bit, and then have another man there who's there to listen to you and to support you, will help you to gain a little bit of self-control back.
Yeah. If you look at the top of any particular field, whether it's career, whether it's sports, whatever, the most successful, especially men, generally speaking, have some level of self-control. And by self-control, I mean kind of / or in parentheses discipline. Right. In order to be a pro athlete, you have to be disciplined in your physical fitness, in your training, in your preparation, your study of film, all these kinds of things. In order to be successful in your finances, you got to be a person that just doesn't go off and spends money for no reason, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, but in every case, but I will also say that a lot of times, for men, we can have self-control in some areas and be successful and have discipline in some areas, but not others. How many strong and powerful men have you known or read about who have gotten to the top of some mountain only to have something come in, normally a woman, come in and ruin everything and take away everything that you worked hard for. And so, we almost have to make sure that, while we're so focused and disciplined in one area, that we don't have a blind spot in other areas. And to your point, this is where other men can come into play of watching your back and maybe pointing out some blind spots and all these other kind of things. But a lot of us, have a tendency to be in, to reach the apex of something only to blow it. And I've been there, man. I've been at the point where, man, all of my childhood dreams were about to come true, and I blew it. I absolutely blew it. And I'll be totally honest, it was through and because of a woman, choices that I made. And so, these are kind of things we need to be aware of as men in the area of self-control and discipline.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so glad you brought that up, because that was where I wanted to go next, is that as you become a better man, as you become more high value, as you get older, you need more self-control, because I'm sorry, ladies are waiting at the finish line for the winners. There are very few women out there that want to build with you. They want to catch you when you've already built it. And so having that self-control so that you don't just take, whichever little I'll say skirt. Whichever little skirt shows up to, bat their eyelashes at you and give you the kissy face and say, hey, I'll, whatever, I want what you have. I like what you're doing. Having that self-control to vet, to make sure that she is of high value, or that she is matching your value and isn't going to be a detriment in the long run. And I know I've had the experience where I went from one relationship to another, and this one was one of those ones where I was like, oh, God must be blessing me because she came up to me and she's hot and this and that. And I should have known that, sometimes it's too good to be true. It's too good to be true, because she ended up being narcissistic and wanted me to just basically pay for everything and provide her lifestyle the way she wanted it without any concern for my dreams and goals and what I wanted. It was all about her. So having that self-control, and I mean, for most of you guys, we learned the hard way. We learned through, like Kirk was saying, giving up on what we wanted for a woman. And then through that wisdom, hopefully you learned. Hopefully you learned. Maybe you didn't learn, but you gain that wisdom, and then hopefully you gain that self-control so that next time you vet her properly.
Dude, these ain't nothing but facts. These ain't, I mean, what you just said, you spitting straight up facts right there, because hypergamy is very real.
Very.
And, you ain't finding a whole lot of women chasing deadbeats. You ain't finding a whole lot of women chasing the homeless guys. And I mean, that's just is not a dating website for homeless men, right? And so you ain't finding that. And so a lot of times, guys, man, when you are hitting your stride and when you start to produce, when you start to excel and achieve, all of a sudden, man, that's when that blind spot opens up. And my one main advice, which is really two things to my son, is and was, dude, don't get nobody locked up, or don't get knocked up. Don't get nobody knocked up, and don't get locked up. I mean,
or something like that.
Something like that. Don't get locked up. Don't get nobody knocked up, man. And because, dude, I mean, and he's kicking butt in life right now, man. And I'm like, man, last thing you want to do is to flush it all down the toilet, because a woman is looking for a come up. I look at, man, Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates. I mean, both of their marriages ended because of women. I mean, man, oh, that hurt. And man, I mean, so them some very rich ex-wives, very rich ex-wives, spending all of his money. And I mean, these are kind of things that, man, I mean, you think about, presidents that have gone down. I mean, athletes that have gone. I mean, you name it. I mean, it's just across the board. So this is absolutely something that we as men, especially we're speaking to younger guys, you need to watch out for this, on your come up, man. Once you get your poop in a group, and once you start to get stuff together, when they come out of the woodwork, man, you better make sure that you're ready. You get married, man. I mean, my wife's been joking that my ring is a chick magnet. I mean, she's like, oh, I see you wearing a chick magnet, right? I'm like, so I'm telling you, fellas, I mean, we need to be careful about this kind of stuff and have some level of self-control.
Yeah, and that self-control needs to come before you get to the finish line, before you get to the top of the mountain, because if you don't work on that self-control, and especially for us guys, gentlemen, you need to work on that self-control of big head over little head.
Yes.
That's the biggest self-control, because just to Kirk's point, it's usually us men who are getting taken advantage of because we don't have the self-control to say no because she looks good, she smells good, and she said she'll do whatever we want, et cetera, et cetera. And it's hard to say no to that, but you got to have the self-control to go, what's in it for me? Is this a good choice? What could the outcome be? And I know it's really hard when all the blood drains out of your head going south, and you're like, yes, I would, yes, whatever you say, yes. And it's not a good look, and that's how we all get in trouble. Yeah. Speaking from experience, it's been the biggest curse in my life is not to have that self-control sometimes to go, you're nice, but no. And speaking of nice, but no, is it that time?
It's not that time.
It's not that time?
No, man.
Well, then never mind. We're not going to do that.
No. We will in a minute. Not right this point. But when you get in your poop in the group, when women start to come along, when you begin to have options, you need to make sure you're looking for a woman that can complement and supplement your life as opposed to drain. And there's supposed to be multipliers, not dividers and subtractors, right? If they can't add and multiply your life, then they will be dividing and subtracting from your life. And so these are kind of things that come through, even the self-control of chasing the shiny object in the dating world. I'm telling you, man, that shiny object, them shiny objects, y'all know what I'm talking about. Them shiny objects out there, man, they will send you way down roads you don't want to go down, man. And so now is a good time.
Is it a good time?
Now it's a great time.
All right, now it's a good time.
We'll be right back. Mad Men of Masculinity, KLDC.
When you think of buying or selling real estate, there's a name you can trust to serve your best interest. When you want knowledge and VIP service, there's one person you want. Barry Overton, Realtor.
And we're back. That's right. We're the Mad Men of Masculinity. Yeah. We're all about self-control today, people. I'm controlling myself from.
Yeah. If you watch this online, you saw us just drop a little commercial with Barry. That dude's got some self-control.
I'm telling you what.
I mean, former MP, former cop. Now he's a real estate mogul in Denver, Colorado, man. I mean, our dude, our guy, man. He partners with the show. All that kind of good stuff, man.
I'm telling you what. You talk about your circle of friends. It's good to have people like Barry around. It's good to have people that are doing good things, man. And if you need self-control, if you struggle with self-control, maybe it's time to change up your fans group. Yeah. Because a lot of times, and this is one of those things, it's just human nature. So you gotta be aware of it. If you're trying to better yourself, gentlemen, if you're trying to raise your value in the sexual marketplace value, if you're trying to just raise your income, just know that those who knew you on the come up are going to try to keep you down because they've learned, you are part of their life in a certain way. So when you're trying to change yourself, they're going to resist. So just be aware of that and have some self-control to go, hey, I loved you for this amount of time, or, you were a part of my life for this amount of time, and then, no hard feelings, but I'm going this way. I'm out. I got to go meet new friends who are going in the same direction I want to go on. And when you get around those guys, you get around those high profile guys, those high value men, the 110%ers, whatever, you're going to think differently. You're going to learn self-control. You're just being around that energy, being around those men, those gentlemen are going to help you with your own self-control. So some tips and tricks, like if you're struggling with your own self-control, if you're struggling with a lot of these soothing mechanisms that are unhealthy, that are not helping you to get what you want and gain more income to be the higher value man that you want to be, maybe change, start networking and find a new circle of men who you can get around and emulate and gain some self-control for them. Because I guarantee you, if you're hanging around high value men and you're still trying to do the chump stuff, they're gonna call you out on it and be like, you can't hang out with us doing that chump stuff. And so you make a choice, and you probably will learn a good amount of self-control hanging out with those dudes. If
you want to soar, you got to give us some egos, right? I mean, you can't be with no chickens expecting to soar. It just doesn't work that way. And so, surrounding yourself by great guys. I mean, that goes into mentoring, but just even friend-touring, just guys that you hang out with, just being around good guys. If you want a successful relationship or a successful marriage, hang out with other married guys. None of us are doing it perfect. I mean, if you want, just good, if you want to get better at golf, hang out with good golfers. I mean, period. So we need to rethink I need to break up with you, man. I need to break up with you.
Ow, the pain. I told you we just need lessons. We need to as a group of dudes, as a friend group, we need to upgrade our golf buddies because just hanging out with each other, we play all right, but we're not getting better because it's just us.
Pretty much. But I mean, again, to that point, you gotta surround yourself with people who you want to be more like, and guys who care about you enough to also respect you and to value you and want to be like you. And those are the kind of self-control things. If you want, back to finances, for example, if you want successful investing, you got to be willing to do the little, the chipping away. You got to be willing to be consistent with just a little bit of it. If you're 20 years old, man, if you can do $50 a paycheck, you'll be a millionaire when you retire. I mean, time's over. So, man, these are the kind of things that that go into the whole art of self-control. And there's a whole lot of things for us to learn. I want to go back to the whole outlet part of the whole thing. In terms of us as guys having an outlet, one of the things that I respect and appreciate even about you is that you have your personal outlets. You golf is one. Your karting. You do the karting, the go-karting, the racing, all that kind of stuff. You do some gaming kind of stuff. You do some exercise, all that kind of stuff. Plus you're a cerebral kind of guy, and so these are the kind of things that can help you have outlets where you don't lower your bar for the moment, and you compromise yourself with moments and instances of self-control when you have healthy outlets to put your focus on.
Yeah, it's something that I didn't always have those things, and there was many years, even especially around COVID time, where I was just kind of floundering. And then thankfully, the track was open, and I was able to get a cart and then start racing and get around other guys and get a competitive spirit. And then it just helps you to raise your mindset, to raise your energy, to raise your focus, so that you have something. And for a lot of us guys, we get kind of stuck in the doldrums because, especially as we get older, it's harder for us to make friends. It's harder for us to get that friends group. So then we actually have to get out and make an effort. And now for a lot of us, we get to that point, especially if we've had a few relationships, maybe had a couple divorces or anything like that, and you kind of get beat down and you're like, I don't even know if I even want to play anymore. Like, I'm going to take my ball and go home. Taking the time to, we all need breaks. I'll give you that. Sometimes you need to have some downtime. But when that downtime's over, don't get stuck in that. Don't get stuck in the river. Don't get stuck in the creek, face down in the ditch kind of thing. Make sure you get your head up, get back out, and then find some outlets. And so many of us are terrified of therapy or counseling or coaching because we would actually have to talk about those things. And if you're one of those, is like, I can't go to therapy or counseling because I don't want to be weak, or I don't even know what I'm going to talk about, or I don't know whatever. That's when you just go, okay, let me find a men's group. Let me find, maybe an AA group, find something where there are men working on themselves, being aware that they can talk about it. Because I think for a lot of us guys, it's that unknown. We're supposed to be men. We're supposed to know everything. We're supposed to be the best, top of the pile, everything. If this is a new skill set, you don't have emotional intelligence. You don't have anybody to talk to you about these things. You don't have some good examples of self-control. Then it's time to go learn a new skill set. And so putting yourself into a place where the other men already work on that, who can guide you. Because, like to Kirk's point, all these pro athletes and all the best in the world, they have coaches. These are the best people in the world, and they still have coaches. They still have people who are helping them hone. So if you don't have a coach, it's either time to get one or get around men who do have coaches so that you can share some of that knowledge, because there's the sharing of it, there's the camaraderie of it, and there's also just the passing on of knowledge, because I guarantee you there's something they don't know, and there's a lot they know that you don't know. And just getting around them and other men will help you to focus and have those outlets, because if we don't allow ourselves some outlets or don't create outlets, I'm not even going to say allow, if we don't create outlets for ourselves, then it's just going to backfire. It's just going to build up, and then we're going to explode. And then we end up part of that, 4 times more that's just taking themselves out.
And I think at the core of this little nugget is healthy outlets. Having something healthy that you go to. You're going to have stress in life. Work is going to grind on you. Your wife or your lady is going to grind on you. Being single can grind on you. Your past, your struggles, your abuses that you had, all of these things that we carry around as men that we don't necessarily talk about, all of these things can grind on us. And what happens probably way too often is that men will go towards negative outlets, and they will begin to consume their way out of into what they almost subconsciously think is some level of self-control, which is, I want to escape this this cortisol, I want to escape this stress. But you end up, I'll speak to myself. There were times in my life where I did not have good friend circles. I did not have good healthy outlets. I did not have a professional source to go talk to. I did not have areas where I had spiritual growth in my life. And man, I just medicated. I medicated through a ridiculous, unrelenting, nonstop, uncontrolled, complete binge in an addiction of pornography. And some guys, they go to a bottle, and I'm not talking. Some guys can have a drink and it's not a thing. Some guys can sit at home and have some whiskey, some scotch, or whatever, and it's not a thing. They don't go driving. They don't. It's not an addiction for them. Some guys, just whatever. Maybe they go to the gym. Maybe they go to golf. Maybe they go to whatever. I got a buddy that I go to a go-kart track with and golf with, and I got another buddy that I go to a cigar lounge with, and we just sit there and smoke on a cigar and just talk about life and relationships and all these things. But to have healthy outlets is the key, because otherwise, those unhealthy things, those consuming things that we go to, will always lead us to a path of destruction, man. It will always lead us to some place we don't want to go. And that's where we need to have the level of self-control to say, is this good for me? This thing that I'm looking for to help me through this time period that I'm going through.
Yeah, and we all use whatever method to soothe and to get through our pains that whatever comes up. And for most of us, we'll start unhealthy and then maybe get into some healthy. And even in my case, like I go back and forth. Like I'm either one day I'm the healthiest and I'm eating good, I'm going to the gym. The next day I'm falling off the horse again. But the biggest thing is for us men is to be willing to experience whatever it is we're feeling. And that's the hardest part for most men, because we don't have that education. But if you have a willingness to go, okay, I'm going to accept that I'm using this alcohol or this thing to soothe myself, and I'm willing to understand why, because there's always a reason behind it. So many of us get stuck in these patterns of these unhealthy behaviors or these soothing behaviors of drinking or porn or whatever, and we just beat ourselves up and feel shame because we don't understand why. We haven't gotten to the core of it yet. And usually that's because we don't have a willingness to look within. And that's where we need the help. Once you get some help looking within, and I mean, for most of us, for most humans on the planet, it comes down to not feeling enough. I don't feel like I'm enough. And there's a new lady, Marissa Peer, that I just started listening to her book, and she has the rapid therapy technique. And it really just comes down to understanding that all of our stuff comes from childhood, feeling like we're not enough. Our parents did the best they could, but they probably came from parents who made them feel not enough. So they passed that down, and we have the generational curses of all of us feeling not enough. And it starts with a willingness to go, hey, I don't feel enough. Why don't I feel enough? Where does that come from? And then you turn into Sherlock Holmes. You become a detective and look at your past, and that will lead you down the little yellow brick road towards self-control, self-worth, self-esteem, and feeling like you are enough.
Yeah. And in America, I mean, we are almost trained culturally to live in excess, to have more than, like, the word
Too
enough.
much.
The word enough is not really even a thing in our culture, right? I need more. Everything that I have, I need more. And if you look at our culture, it's evident. I mean, we have the most resources, but we're the most overweight. The most in debt. I mean, you name it, it's all excess. And now we're going into a holiday season where how many of us need more stuff? Right? How many of us really need more stuff, especially a lot of more stuff? But we're going to go out and we're going to spend billions of dollars, just buying stuff. I mean, it's part of our culture, man. And it's
well, and it even goes back to the reason we use material things and all this outer stuff, and that because we don't feel enough on the inside. We're trying to fill holes on the inside with outer stuff, which never works. So at some point, we have to have the self-control and the self-discipline to go, hey, I'm going to look at my stuff and fill that hole. And when you can fill that hole and have some discipline and self-control to make yourself feel enough, and to look at yourself in the mirror and be like, hey, I love you. You're enough. You're worthy. you're lovable. Have those conversations with yourself to build up. You got to build new neural pathways. You got to build new thought processes to get away from that not enoughness, which is rampant in our culture. And it's taught to us. We're taught that we're not enough, and all the marketing and advertising is you're not enough if you don't have that new iPhone. You're not enough if you don't have this shoe, this jacket, this car, this whatever. And that's just a manipulation and a slave mindset where we're being just driven in this direction to consume.
You know what, man? When we come back, I got a thought that's on my mind that's gonna make some women mad.
Let's do it.
Oh, you know, I like doing that, man.
Yeah, let's make the ladies mad.
I'm hoping to make somebody mad enough to want to cancel.
Yeah, cancel us, comment on us, tell us you hate us, but we love it either way.
Fantastic. Hey, we'll be right back. Mad Men of Masculinity, KLDC. Boom.
What you gonna say, ladies, man?
I ain't gonna tell you because some of them are listening right now, and they you know, I don't want them to be prepared for what I'm about to say.
Right on.
You know what I'm saying? I want to catch them. I want to catch them with an ogie doke. Catch them with an ogie doke. They don't see it coming. Boom.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
We are back.
Yeah, we sure is.
It is the boys back in town.
Yeah, the boys are
back in town.
Back in town. Yeah. Wasn't that like Beverly Hills or something? Beverly Hills Cop?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking the other one, like the older one, the boys are back. What was that?
I don't know, man. I was thinking
like 60s.
But
But you're right.
Yeah,
I think that was a remake of the one I was thinking of.
Was it?
I think. I don't know.
Who knows? Man.
What do I know?
I don't know. We're talking about self-control. You know self-control sometimes.
Sometimes. I have my moments.
Yeah. And here I'm gonna close out this final segment with a bang.
Bang
to the ladies.
Ooh.
Sometimes y'all make it real hard for us to have some self-control, and y'all need to check yourself for real. Sometimes now, if a guy acts out of his feelings, and if a guy goes off the deep end, and he goes ham, he is responsible for that. But sometimes y'all just need to like chill up, back off, and just like be quiet. I mean, shut up, whatever you want to call it. But sometimes y'all make it real hard for us to have some self-control, and y'all know it. Whether it's, the man in your life in his relationship, talking about pushing them buttons and doing, just whatever, pushing them to that limit. Or if it's some guy that you're not in a relationship with, but you want to do something to, send him off, the direction, send him off the deep end one way or another, man. I mean, sometimes ladies make it real hard for fellas to have some self-control.
Yeah, ladies, no means no.
Right.
When I said no, and okay, I'm a guy, so sometimes it's really hard to say no, especially you got to have real strong self-control. You got to know why you're saying no. You got to know what the reason is. And I'm almost with you. I'm getting close to 50 now, and I'm just now starting to like get an idea. And gentlemen, you got to open your eyes and realize when you're being manipulated. Yeah. When she wants something and she's like, "Are you sure? And what about this?" And then she's coming around, end around, trying to flank you and doing, the button hook maneuver around your backhand, trying to get you to say yes or get you to do what she wants. Don't fall for it, because honestly, a little bit of anger, a little bit of disappointment on her side when you say no and hold your boundary is going to pay dividends in the future, because now she knows she can trust you. Because all women unconsciously test us, and they're doing that so that they can feel trustworthy, because they want to know that they can trust you. They need safety and security, and that looks different. They want physical safety and security of knowing that you're going to say no to them, so they know you're going to say no to somebody else, another girl. So when they're trying to do all that stuff, and it's tough. I mean, especially if you're a man out there doing your thing, you're going to have lots of attention, and just take it in and appreciate it and go, "Hey, I'm doing good. I must be doing good. I got some attention." You got that girl magnet on your finger now, so you can get in that attention, Kirk. So,
and sometimes though, ladies just need to back off.
Right.
When he says, "Okay, he's had enough," when you see him getting there, don't push him over the edge. Like, don't push him across the line. Like, if you see he's about to lose it, back off a little bit. Help a brother out. That's all I'm saying. A little HBO. Help a brother out. Make it a little bit easier for us to have some self-control here in our culture. Some of y'all need to, work on your wardrobe, when you go out in public, when you're at work, when you're at sometimes when you're at church, when you're at Target, when you're at whatever, come on, man. We were going through an airport, and there's a family walking through the airport. Mom had on, traveling, Americans travel with women wearing yoga, whatever.
Mhm.
They had she couldn't have been no older than, I'm going to say 8 years old, a daughter, no older than 8 years old, with some tight yoga pants and one of them tight sports bras, one of them tight yoga working. And that's all she was wearing. And I'm like, oh, man, come on, man. Dago, well, mom was like, oh, she's going to be cute just like me walking through the airport. And I'm like, you just made your daughter, visual fodder for who knows, some guy that's probably trying to stay out of prison or stay whatever, but it's like, come on, ladies, y'all need to step it up a little bit with the bar and the standard that y'all have in terms of us guys having some self-control.
Yeah, gentlemen, part of that self-control is to not allow the manipulation and to cut it off. You got to nip it in the bud because ladies, just as a norm in general, they like drama. They love soap operas. They like the drama, and sometimes if they're bored, they're just going to push the buttons just to cause drama because that's they're feeling bored. They're feeling like there's not enough woo excitement in the relationship. So being able to have that self-control to be like no. And to Kirk's point, one of the reasons we as men need to have that foundational self-control is so that we can pass that on to our kids. We can pass it on to the family so that they know that their value is internal, not external, especially if we got daughters. We got little girls who are going to be so influenced by Hollywood and social media, and they're going to be like this little 8-year-old walking in yoga pants and little sports bras. Like, no, if you have some self-control as a man, if you're laying down a foundation, then you give some of that self-control to them. It's like, okay, I heard a great analogy where a father was asking his daughter, like, why do you put a case on your iPhone? Well, because I find it's valuable and I want to protect it. He's like, okay, well, when you dress like you've been dressing, then you're basically doing the opposite. That's why we want you to dress more conservatively so that you're more protected. And that's part of that self-control that if we don't have self-control as men, how can we pass it on to our daughters, our sons? There's lots of things our sons can be getting into that if we don't have self-control to model that to our sons, how are they going to understand what self-control is? How, you let them out of the house and you've not taught them anything about self-control or manners or being a foundational strong man. They're going to go out there and just blowing in the breeze, and then they're going to have to learn the hard way. And it's up to us as the older generation, as the parents, as the fathers, to impart self-control and what that looks like to the next generation.
A lot of the reasons why we as men need to have higher levels of self-control is because overwhelmingly, a lot of women don't have self-control, and we need to be the ones to impart self-control in a moment. Again, if you're in a relationship, somebody's got to say, baby, you don't need another pair of shoes. Somebody's got to say, do you really need another Louis? Et cetera, right? Somebody's got to be the cooler head that prevails in a moment.
Man, I can feel just a hate being stared at.
I don't care, man. I know what I'm talking about, and they know what I'm talking about too. But in the moment, in a heated argument, right? Odds are, I'm gonna 51 out of 100 times, it's not gonna be the woman that says, let's bring peace to this moment, this situation. 51% of the time, it's gonna be the guy who's the peacemaker, the peace bringer, the peacekeeper in that heated moment. And so we gotta have a higher level of self-control because a lot of times we are the structure, we're the container. And if we don't have self-control, ain't nobody having self-control. That's why if you look at the statistics of absentee fatherhood and what that does to a family structure, to a home, to a community, that's where those dots connect. Because we are not there exercising self-control over our kids, over and through our women, and leading them in that way. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about dictatorship. I'm talking about leading by example and bringing that gift into the scenario. Because again, in most cases, especially in a home, in a relationship or whatever, just even in culture, men are going to be the ones that bring some level of I'm going to say conservatism, some level of control, some level of perspective, some level of peace, all those kinds of things. So that's why we got to have a higher standard for us of self-control.
Yeah, gentlemen, we talk about it so much, attention is love for women. Respect is love for men. You want to gain respect from your woman, you got to have that self-control. You got to have that foundational self-control where she can't just push you off the pedestal. She can't just push you over, get emotional, and then run you over. And, anytime that happens, she's losing respect for you, or she's already lost it. And, you may be able to rescue that if it's worth it. I mean, Kirk talks about all the time, spend every dime you got to save that marriage if you're in a marriage. And it may come down to, you need to get out around other guys of high value who are going through the work, doing the work themselves, to gain some more self-control, to gain some more self-respect, to know that you're worth it, to know that you're enough, and then bring that back to that relationship and show her you have self-control and self-respect, and demand the respect. Because what's happening nowadays is so many of us, because there aren't good examples of masculinity in the home, there's not enough fathers around showing these examples of self-control and self-respect and worthiness. We're being taught by ladies what their version of it is, and it's not working for us. We need both examples in the home. We need the mother for the nurturing, and we need the father for the reality getting. We're basically like, this is how you survive in the world. I mean, that's why in old cultures they had that rite of passage, the rite of manhood, where they would literally steal the sons at a certain age and take them out into the woods and say, now you're a man, after they've gone through this rite of passage, after they've been, had to go hunt down whatever wild animal themselves and kill it and skin it and do all those things. Like, these were things that men needed to impart to their little boys. And then not only because it gave them self-respect, it gave them self-control, but it also gave them a foundation to be the protector and provider for the ladies, to be the one that the ladies needed. Now, so much the ladies are taking on those masculine roles and not understanding the value of why we need men in the home and healthy masculinity in the home.
When I saw that example in the airport of the little girl with the tight yoga stuff on, my first thought was, because there was mom, dad, and kids. I'm like, why didn't dad step in and say something? Dad knew better. Like, that dad knows other men, and that dad should not have put his little girl or allowed his little girl to be paraded through airports looking like that. I mean, now I know from mom's perspective, mom thinks, oh, she looks cute, she looks just like me, blah, blah, blah. But dad should have stepped in and said, yeah, no, that's not going to work. We are not going out of the house with my daughter looking like a cell phone with no case on it. It just shouldn't happen that way. You don't find a whole lot of households where there is a strong, self-controlled, disciplined man, where a mom is posting pictures of her daughter on social media. These kind of things should not be happening. And that's why men being in that scenario, in that role, that's why it's so critical in our culture.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna call him a nice guy, a simp. I mean, probably he's just like, I can't handle all this feminine energy, and they're gonna do what they want, so he just gave in and bent over, and he's got that noodle back. He doesn't have a strong backbone, but
throw Amy up on the screen, man. We gotta show some love. We gotta comment up on this.
Amy said his self-control shows respect towards her or better future goals. Yeah, for better future goals, I'm assuming. But yeah, that's it. We're, as men and women, we need each other, and we have different roles to play. Yeah. And part of that as men is to have that self-control, to have that foundation, to know our worth, to know our goals, to know what we bring to the table, and then to not let our ladies knock us off that foundation, because they will try. And it's not trying to be mean. It's not trying to be vindictive. I mean, some of them probably are, but for the most part, it's just, it's kind of like how in life, everything requires resistance. You want to build muscle, you want to get stronger, you need to lift heavy things, because that is resistance, as gravity. She's also providing resistance for you to be stronger and learn self-control, learn self-respect, and to provide that foundation for that home. But when we aren't given those lessons, when we don't see those things in our homes, then we just think, oh, she's just being mean. She's just being, I was going to say, I guess I can say, I don't know. I'm not going to say it over the air, but she's being a buster.
Yeah.
She's busting those things. Mm-hmm. And we don't realize that she's looking for, what's the reason behind why she has tests? What's the reason behind why she's challenging you? Yeah. She wants to feel safe and secure. If you don't have the self-worth and the self-control to provide that foundation for her to feel safe and secure, then she's going to continue to test you. I mean, she's always going to test you, but I think the more you show as a man your self-worth, your self-control, and to show her that she can't push you off that pedestal, or she can't push you off your foundation, the less likely she is to feel unsafe and to feel insecure and to feel like there's something lacking in that relationship.
She wants you to lead her. she wants that. She wants you to say no sometimes. She wants you to set boundaries and set limits. No. Exactly. That's a service to her. Like I said, that's like the vase that her flower can be safe to grow in. So she wants that. The world needs men with self-control. Our families, our women, our kids need men to have higher levels of self-control. I mean, that's when our culture, that's when everything is harmonious, is when men act in that kind of way. So boom, man, I love it. Hey, if you're out there, check us out, madmenradio.com. You can holler at us on YouTube, Facebook, man, everywhere. I mean, podcasts, everywhere you can get a podcast, all those kind of good things, man. Holler at your boys. Let us know if you agree, if you disagree, or if you think we're chumps. If you want to cancel us, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Cancel me.
We like that. We'd like to you try to cancel us. And if you need support, if you don't know where to go, our names are our websites. Look me up, look Kirk up. We can point you in the right direction. If and maybe we can help you out one-on-one. I mean, we both do coaching. We both do workshops. We're here for you. We can save you a lot of time. So make sure if you don't have the self-control you want, if you're not where you want to be in life, get around your boys, change your circle, and make your life better, man. Because it's not just for you, it's for the world. We're trying to make a better world here.
And with that,
these madmen are out.